meeting of the town. I'll
Sorry.
restart that. Okay. Okay, I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Town of Jerome Design Review Board. Today is Monday, January 3rd, 2022. It's approximately 6:01 p.m. This meeting is being conducted via Zoom. And Rosa, can we get a roll call?
Sure. Tyler Christensen. Bryce Wood. Where did Bryce go? Okay, I'll come back to Bryce. John McDonald.
Here.
Mimi Romberger
Here.
and Carol Whitner.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rosa. Any petitions from the public tonight?
None. Mm-mm.
Okay. Item number 3 then, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 6th, 2021. Does everyone have a chance to take a look at this? I thought they looked pretty good. And I
Yeah.
want to thank you Rosa, for doing that. It looks good.
Sure.
So do we need an approval of the minutes? I'll
Do we
make
have
that
a motion?
motion. Oh,
Was that a motion? Sorry.
yes, it is a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh,
John beat you to it. I'll give it to John. So we have a motion from Carol and a second from John. Doesn't look like Bryce is going to be here for this vote, so we'll call him absent. But with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the regular meeting of December 6th, 2021, please say aye.
aye.
And opposed? No oppose. With 4 ayes and 1 absentee, that passes. Okay, on to item number 4, design review of a new door and windows. The applicant / owner is Scott Hudson and Janet Bustrin. The address is 538 School Street.
Bryce Wood.
Okay, Bryce is back.
Join the meeting.
This is in the C1 zone, and the applicant is seeking approval to change out 2 windows and a door on the front lower level of the home, which were not original and have compromised the structural integrity of the house. This is the side of the home that faces Main Street or 89. This will be DRB resolution 2022-01. With that, Rosa, do we have any kind of staff report for this?
Yeah, basically what you said, and they're gonna do this in stages. So they're starting with 2 windows and 1 door, right? And Scott's here if you'd like to speak directly to the culprit.
Yeah, Scott, would you like to introduce yourself to the record and give a summary of your project?
Hello, I'm Scott Hudson. And like you said, we'd like to replace, you're probably all familiar with the property and all the windows in the front. And we think it was kind of a, art. We're not sure who did it. I don't know if anybody in town does, but it's like artist windows. They were just built in place. And
Jim Rome,
I'm sorry?
James Rome did it.
James Rome did it.
Oh,
Got one of his paintings on the wall. Very good. But it's beautiful. And the client would like to keep what we can. I don't know for sure until I take it apart and rebuild, remake a window somehow. I think I kind of illustrated that in the packet. To do what we can, to reuse what we can, and also keep the structure stable. When Jay Kinsella was living there, he said it broke when he was living there and the house dropped 6 inches.
oh,
So we want to fix that and not have it happen again. And so there's 2 Anderson windows and 1 Anderson door, and then try to fit in somewhere what we can save and make a window. She really wants to do that. I think it's a good idea, so we can keep some of the look that's there, to keep the integrity of that, because it is beautiful what he did.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. It also looks a little bit unorganized. It looks a little bit like of a conglomerate of several types of windows. And it looks like from your illustrations, you're gonna clean it up a little bit and obviously help with the integrity of the thing. So I like what you got going on so far.
So there's no answer for sure what can be done with what we save, but most of it is, I think he did it, took glass or whatever he can find from other buildings, or not sure how he did it. He just did it as he went.
Right.
Built it,
Yeah, it looks like it's cool, but it's a little messy. So it'd be cool to,
very drafty. The windows don't work anymore.
right.
They won't open. So
Are there any questions or comments from the rest of the board?
Something that's probably really necessary. I went through the same thing that here at my house. I live across the street. And I think Jim got a lot of those windows the same place I did, Joe Zunig's junkyard.
oh,
So I have the same.
Hello,
method that we've done at my house.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what
Hello.
that said, Carol.
I just said he's got the same thing going on that I have at my house, at the back of my house.
Bryce, do you have anything to add?
Okay, I didn't know if you realized I was here or not. Thank you. My computer is screwing up. I was in the meeting and then it somehow I lost you. But I've got you on the phone and I'm here. Anyway, I would like to move that we approve this project as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Are there any other comments or questions before I call a question? Doesn't look like that. And with that, all those in favor of approving DRB resolution 2022-01 as presented, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Those opposed? And with 5 ayes, that passes. Thank you, Scott, for making it on, and good luck with your project. I look forward to seeing that.
thank you. Thank to all of you. Thank you very much.
Fun in Alaska.
Okay, on to item number 5, design review of a new 2-story single-family residence. The applicants / owners are Cynthia Barber and Eric Lorette. This is on 776 East Avenue. It is in the R15 zone, and the applicants are seeking design approval for a newly constructed single-family home, which will be 2 stories and approximately 1,664 square feet. This will be DRB resolution 2022-02. And Rosa, do you have any kind of summary for this?
You take my summary away from me.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to
When you introduce the item, so rather than repeat what you just said, we've got Sid here, and she could probably address some of your questions or comments based on the application. Trying to think if there's anything I need to point out to you. I hope everyone got the addendum.
Yep.
Okay, good. I say let's hand it over to Sid.
Yeah, Sid, could you introduce yourself to the record and give us a summary of your house?
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Barber. I was born and raised here. I have a piece of property on 776 East Avenue. Eric and I have been planning to build a house here for quite a few years, and we're really excited about going forward with it. We know the neighborhood, know Jerome really well. We made sure that we designed a house that would fit the neighborhood. I don't know what else to say. I mean, if anyone has any questions about what we want to build, now's a good time to ask.
I just want to clarify, because the color scheme is just little out of the ordinary for what we usually get for a sample. They're good samples. They're just, it's a strange picture instead of an actual sample of color, but it looks like you've written here for the base color for the house colors. It's like a reddish beige. Then for the trim colors, you have a dark pine looking green and like a dark maroon red. And then for the standing seam metal roof and lap siding, it's like a whitish gray. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to clear that up for the record.
And beautiful colors. I really
Mhm.
like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the main thing we do here is, you know, the look of it, the feel of it. I think structurally, it definitely fits the neighborhood. That's what you're trying to fit for the footprint. And, you know, you got the metal roof, which is common in Jerome. You got, looks like cinder block at the bottom of the house and then regular siding on the side of the house. So this is pretty straightforward and I think it fits the neighborhood perfectly. The only question I have is, are you going to utilize the stairs that are currently in place? Are they going to be redone? Is it going to be the same length from the sidewalk to your front door with those steps? Or could you go over that?
We're gonna eliminate those.
Those will be, we're gonna try and leave those there, but there'll be a porch over them. So we'll use steps off to the side, parking and the actual house that go down in between the house and the parking area. There's an old wall from the house that was there before. There's two walls, partial walls, and we'd like to leave those there. One is holding up the parking area. So we're gonna build stairs that go down and leave that wall and then try and leave what's left of the wall that's against the hogback, if at all possible.
Okay,
So, but as far as like taking out the old stairs or the old walkway, we wouldn't actually want to do that. We'd just put our porch over it.
okay, yeah. Yeah,
It would be a little bit higher than it.
I'm wondering if it's just gonna be like the same style footprint of, you know, walkway up to your porch like that. If you're gonna use what's there pretty much.
The walk, yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Are there any other questions about this from the board?
This is Bryce. I'm really impressed and pleased with this presentation. I think you've done a wonderful job with what you have. And, well, I'm going to do it again. I would like to move to approve this project as presented.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Are there any other comments or questions or another motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion and a second. One more time, any other comments or questions? All right, and I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving DRB resolution 2022-02, please say aye.
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 And those opposed, and that passes. Thank you, Sid.
Thank
And
you, everybody.
good luck with
Yay.
the project. I can't wait to see that go up. And I'm pretty sure this is the last lot on that road. You'll be completing that neighborhood once you're done.
Yeah, it looks like there's a house missing there.
All right.
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
Thank
So
you, guys.
P&Z
Have a good night.
PNC is next for you. Sid.
Awesome. Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sid. On to item number 6, review of the Jerome Design Guidelines. So the Jerome Town Council has requested that the Design Review Board review the draft of the design guidelines and provide feedback to the council. I looked over this and I don't really have too much to add, but I do have a question that maybe someone else can answer. I'm a youngin', but there was one little description of Society Hill in this guideline, and I'm wondering if anybody else has heard Society Hill describe the upper part of town. I've always heard it called Company Hill.
I've heard
I
Society Hill.
agree. No, I've always heard Company Hill, but
I've
Yeah,
heard
I'm
Society-
wondering which one to call it, because I saw Society. I'm like, that's not it, is it? Well, now I'm wondering if it's the actual, which one.
It's Company Hill.
Okay.
So Tyler, if you'd like, I can share what P&Z discussed because they reviewed the design guidelines too. And that was one of the things mentioned,
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
just to kind of get the conversation going about it.
Yeah, sure.
So what they did point out is that this is because a couple of the commissioners weren't quite sure what the point of the design guidelines were. So Lance clarified that it's basically for DRB to follow historic protocol and for builders, newcomers to follow historic protocol. But Lance did point out that on page 12 of the guidelines that, I forget the gentleman's name, but he used Society Hill rather than Company Hill. And then he referred to the hogback as hogbacks. And so
Yeah.
he thought that should be corrected. Because, I mean, you don't really talk about, you either talk about the upper hogback or the lower hogback, not the
Yeah, and it's
hogback.
also like depending on what era, like time you're referring to as well. I think most, like the modern version of the hogback is pretty much just East Avenue.
Yeah. I hear Hampshire called the hogback as well, like
Yeah,
is
it's
the upper hogback.
yeah, I could go with
Upper
up
and lower,
lower
yeah.
instead of
Upper and lower
Hogback.
hogback.
You've heard both, Bryce? Is that,
I think that's what I've heard, yeah, upper and lower hogback for those features.
I'd be okay with that description.
and then Lance also suggested adding the Verde district to the different districts that they have. Verde district and Mexican Town.
Where would the Verde district be? Would that be like Dundee?
Honestly,
I think for the numbered streets, yeah.
Would be Verde Street?
the numbered
Verde
streets.
to center and the numbered streets, I think.
Okay,
That's what it
so
means,
yeah, first through fifth, that neighborhood. Okay, so that, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Another thing that was suggested is breaking down the districts by materials. And Lance said he would help with that if you thought that would be worthwhile.
Yeah, because there are different sections, like, for example, Company Hill was like the old Victorian homes, and then you got like Mexican Town was more like, you go back far enough, it was like tent city, but there's different architectures for different parts of town. And part of our role as design review is to try and make sure that new structures that do go up match those features and highlight the historical points without, like being overbearing to structures that are next to it or taking it away, or trying to fake it. Like you're going to put something new up, it's got to look, it's got to fit, but it can't be fake.
Right.
I like these guidelines. I like that they were, documented like this because I don't think every specific one of these things comes to mind when we have an item come in front of us. So it's good to have that to reference. And I don't really have any other additions to this other than those couple little, I don't know if you call it typos or just descriptors. But this looks good in my eyes. I like it.
I'd like to say a few things. First of all, I think this Bruce Wood is actually Bryce Wood.
Oh yeah, that was
for
one of
reference.
I missed that.
And what I was trying to do when I wrote my paper was sort of just an addition to the general plan. And of course, it's not a part of the general plan. And this kind of material that we're looking at has to be, written into ordinance and approved by council, and it's kind of a long process. But a couple of things I've noticed. One is that there's been an attempt to change the language that I'm accustomed to, which has to do with visual compatibility. And it was always pointed out that was a difficult idea to wrap your head around. And I agree that's true. However, I always thought that the visual part was obvious and the compatibility part was the piece that became contentious. And I see that in the very first paragraph of this paper, he uses the word compatibility without visual in front of it. And it seems to me like it's the same thing. Certainly for the design review process, we're looking at visual aspects of stuff. And I think it's helpful that he's pointing out where things are similar or not similar. But it's also, it seems to me like we've mixed up two different sets of the ordinance, that the P&Z takes care of all of the numeric and quantitative pieces, and DRB takes care of the visual stuff. And the quantitative stuff is pretty spelled out in our ordinance. And so I don't know quite how this relates to that. except to say he's added some new ideas about relative height rather than absolute height, or the way we compute it on the slope. But actually, I think most of it is pretty helpful, and I think it's a good idea. The best piece of it, to me, is simply that we're not considering all of Jerome as one entity, but rather it is separate visual situations, and that should be in our minds when we're looking at applications. So I think that's good. And I think he has some new things to say about materials, new things to say that I don't know about technical stuff. But it just strikes me as I'm accustomed to using the language that I inherited, which was the Department of the Interior language of visual compatibility. And it feels to me like we're still talking about the same thing without using the word visual, which is an odd thing to do, it seems to me. And I don't understand why it has to be that way. So those are some of my thoughts on this.
That's a good point. I don't see why we couldn't add visual in front of compatibility to make that distinction.
Well, it's in our ordinance, and it's a whole page of stuff to explain what that two-word phrase means. So the Department of Interior has clearly thought about this for a long time. And we didn't invent this. I mean, this is the stuff we inherited with the ordinance. I just don't see the difference between compatible and visual compatible, since we are the visual board.
I don't think there really is a difference. I think it's just maybe, I think if we add visual in front of that, then we can make, each one of these documents consistent.
Okay, and one last thing. I think that you've got to treat this as sort of a long-term project. I don't think we can just change, a whole lot of stuff in our ordinance without a lot of thought and discussion about it.
No.
I'm through.
Nicely said, Bryce. I agree. Definitely. I don't really think this has anything to do with ordinance changes. It to me, it seemed like it was trying to specify a little bit more on our code, or the goal of kind of what the design review board is about too, or
It feels more like the general plan than the ordinance to me.
yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, and we need that, but it's just we're a ways from this being an ordinance, is what I'm pointing out.
It almost feels like this should be a document that's given to a brand new board member. Like, this is kind of how we do things.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's real helpful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else from anybody else? I'm sure council would like input.
Well, can you summarize what you think DRB would recommend to council about the guidelines?
So I think we kind of agree with P and Z a little bit in the distinctions between the different neighborhoods. I think we all agree that we'd rather Society Hill be called Company Hill, that the hog backs be referred to as the upper and lower hog back, and then the also adding the distinctions between the Mexican Town and the Verde neighborhood, and any other ones that we can think of to kind of specify different neighborhoods in town. For example, like I don't know what we would call the experimental area.
Yeah.
Exactly. Is that called the experimental area, or is there another better creative word for it?
I always hear that as Dundee, simply, but it's Dundee and North Avenue and Cemetery Road, but that's the experimental area.
Okay, so experimental.
I have one comment.
Yeah.
So they mentioned, and I heard this before, that no new major buildings have been constructed since 1953, with the exception of the fire station. But there are some new buildings.
I think they referred to like commercial stuff. Or like
Well,
industrial
how
stuff.
about Stars Building? That's a new building. Tracy's building, Raku, right next to it, my building. Those buildings were all built after that,
Right.
along with that extension of the old fire station.
And Lola's,
All
the old
commercial.
Mimi's, that was built, I think, in 1993, something like that.
Yeah. So all those buildings, I mean, they're,
Looks like we got to do some digging and update that.
yeah, I heard that before I attended the last P and C meeting, and they said that, and I wanted to question it of P and C then, but those questions from the public were not allowed. So I figured I'd mention it here, especially when I saw it in our packet. So I'm just curious about why they don't, all those buildings are not mentioned, or if there's a specific reason.
We can ask that. I can add that to our summary.
All right.
Along with that, what else? Also the addition of visual in front of compatibility to make our documents consistent, because there's a little bit of confusion. We don't want to leave that out. And if there's multiple spots that's referenced to in this, then we like to put in all the spots, not just one. Am I missing anything?
One other thing that was, excuse me, pointed out by P and Z is that it's possible to have restoration in the front and renovation in the back. Because there's that section on page 9 where they're talking about, you're in my way, Kat. Excuse me.
Yeah, there's rehab, restore, and renovate.
Right.
Yeah,
Renovate, yeah.
and they were talking about how it's possible to have, simultaneously restoration in the front and renovation in the back, and that I guess P and Z and DRB would need to be flexible somewhat in that. I
We
don't,
refer to like the Main Street drag where like the renovations in the back wouldn't be visible to anything. That would make sense.
yeah, like a lot of and Jara pointed out that, like her house, and you see a lot of the houses that were just like whatever materials were available, they just use them to,
Right.
rebuild a wall or set a new post or whatever. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what makes this board a little bit challenging is we get curveballs like that.
yes.
But I think that's fair. Anything else? I got nothing else. You got
Nope.
good enough notes there for that, Rosa?
I think so. Lance had requested I write up a summary and pass it by him before we pass it by council, so I'll pass it by both of you.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right, I think that wraps up item number 6 then. With that, is there a number 7? There's like an in between. So meeting updates, I'll hand that over to Rosa.
Okay. Oh, I didn't get the item number on it this time, did I? Sorry about that.
6.
And last time I skipped.
Well, that's 6A or something, 6A.
all right. Okay, so at the council meeting on December 14th, they had the second reading of the 300 Queen Street rezone scheduled, but that was tabled till the January meeting. Town Attorney Bill Sims and the applicants had been in discussions. And so council needed more time to review the language that they'd been presented about half an hour before the meeting. So that's going to be continued at the next council meeting next week. Council did approve the fee schedule for DRB, P&Z, and Board of Adjustments with just a few changes. So I think that's it for that. Contractual options to address street abandonment and subsidence. Council directed Bill Sims and Candace to meet with the applicants to discuss the terms, and the applicants also made it clear that this is separate from the rezone. Short-term rentals were discussed, and Bill Sims came up with some options the town had, legal options. And council seemed to lean toward looking at what Sedona's doing and crafting an ordinance that will make it, just create stricter guidelines for people that have vacation rentals,
Okay,
just because of the problems with noise and garbage and that kind of thing. So it was also suggested that other legal perspectives be considered. So that's happening.
okay.
Did you have a question?
Mm.
No, okay. Then we had a request for abandonment of a town right-of-way on Verde, and council tabled that because they needed more information. So.
Okay.
And then at the P and Z December 15th meeting, the temporary sign ordinance went back to P and Z, discussed council's last modifications and approved them, and now it's going back to council, and hopefully it will finally be put to bed. We'll see. And then I shared with you the design guidelines, what P and Z, the feedback they gave. And at the December 28th special council meeting, Robert Gould, he goes by Bob, was interviewed and hired and started today,
Cool.
sort of officially, unofficially. He came in and saw his office and checked out his view and started reading all the stuff. And then I had to go check out his new digs. So anyway, he'll be with us at the next meeting and
Good.
talking more than me. So.
Right on. Looking forward to that.
That's great. Oh.
Okay, I'll know with that, on to item number 7, which is future DRB agenda items for Monday, February 7th, 2022. Looks like the Cornish pasty sign is coming back. So we got the info that we were looking for, I assume.
Yeah, hopefully I haven't heard
Oh,
back,
that's just potentially upcoming.
just potentially. John Bartel got himself involved a little bit because he's the landlord there and wondered what was happening. And so he's going to help Robert out with this application. So I'm hoping he'll be on the next agenda, get that done.
Okay, cool. I'm not sure if I can ask this, but I have one question before we move on to the next item, and that was how much longer our terms are for chair and vice chair.
February, is it like February 28th?
Is it the next meeting?
I think.
It's
we-
February 28th.
So do we
Yes.
vote the next meeting, or am I chair for one more meeting?
You're
You would be chair for one more meeting, yeah, and then you would vote, right, for the next year.
So wouldn't he start the meeting in February and then they vote and then the person takes over the meeting, that
Yeah.
meeting?
Right.
Okay, all right, cool. Just wanted to clear that up because I haven't heard anything about that yet.
Glad you brought it up.
Okay,
I
cool.
haven't either.
Yeah, it's just something to ponder there. So with that, I'll move on to item number 8, adjournment. Anything else before we adjourn? Any motions? I'll motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor of adjourning this meeting at 6:34 PM, please say aye.
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 Aye, and opposed, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
See you guys next month.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye.